I'm sure we've all faced a time in our lives, or are facing them right now, where we feel like nothing is possible, or we're hopeless, or everything seems too far away, and we're too focused on right now and not what's about to come. You're facing these hardships. And the reason why I want to bring attention to this is because in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Verily, with hardship comes ease. And he repeats that twice. Why do you think it's so important? There is something so calculated about the Quran and about exactly what God mentions, that the fact that he mentioned this ayah twice needs to make you wonder why it's so important and why we still haven't fully understood the concept of hardship, and with hardship comes ease. In this video, we're going to be exploring that concept, and we're going to be hopefully helping you. I'm going to be helping you build trust and sabr with God so that you don't ever despair, don't ever lose hope, so that you're always steadfast in your heart and you know what's gonna come for you, and you know this whole life is just a test. This life is gonna be, hopefully, inshallah, way easier after you have this knowledge. Now, for us to truly understand the concept of hardship, we need to know that honestly, it's inevitable, and we all know this as Muslims. In the back of our subconscious, we know that life is a test. But I think we need to be more in tune with that in our everyday actions. Losing a loved one, losing a pet, something small like losing a competition or something. If you're a very competitive person, that's not really a small thing to you. Or getting bad grades or something on a test. Or something like financial loss. That could also be really, really hard on someone. We need to acknowledge that these things are inevitable. Life is a test, and you will be tested in any way that God tells you to be tested. So you need to have trust in Allah no matter what, because you're going to be tested no matter what. And if you're going to be tested and that's certain, then why not just put your best foot forward and hope for the best? And that's what tawakkul is. So you don't have to be perfect, but you also don't have to plan everything out, because it's not your plan that's going to go. It's going to be Allah's plan, because He is the greatest of planners, okay? Trusting God's plan is knowing that whatever happens for a reason, and it's for a good reason. It's for your benefit, even though you might not know it in the moment. In your eyes, even if it looks bad, that you can trust that this is all part of the plan. It puts you in a very mindful, assured place in your mind, because you know everything is happening in your favor. Now, a lot of the Western culture will say like everything, like the universe is happening in your favor, whatever. I want to say more of like it's happening in your favor because God said so. Speaking of God's plan and what you might or might not know about it, like the wisdom that you know or don't know in the moment, you need to have sabr in times of hardship. And I know this is like the easiest thing for me to say. I swear to God, like I'm kind of like cringing at myself for saying this, but I promise this has a point. But sabr is cultivated through hardship. The more hardship you go through, the more sabr you acquire, you attain. So in dua, in supplication, when we're asking God to give us sabr, He gives us hardship, because that tests our sabr and increases our sabr. I heard this story, okay, of someone who was practicing Islam and who was practicing patience, and he sat in a cave for like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. He never came out of that cave. And a sahaba or someone came to him and he was like, well, this patience is of no use if it's not tested. How do we know you have patience if you haven't tested it? Okay, so when people test your patience, and we joke about it, when people test our patience, they're actually testing our patience. Like, no joke, you're literally gaining points for holding back whatever you wanted to say, being mean, okay? And God knows how much you hold back, okay? God knows how much I hold back, because people say I'm mean, but I could have said something way worse. Also, I wanted to remind everyone that patience is not passive. It is a proactive choice to stay calm and in control of your emotions when something is triggering you. And there's a hadith that mentions that whoever Allah wills good for, he will throw hardship after hardship, because he just wants to test you in this world and not the afterlife. And if you're being tested right now, no matter how big or small, just remember that you would much rather be tested in this blink of an eye life than be tested in eternal years. And there's a saying in Christianity, or like just like the Western cultures, like God puts his best soldiers through the toughest battles, and that's because he knows you can do it. God would not give you a burden if he knew you could not bear it. That is another quote. God will not give you anything you cannot bear. So whatever you're going through right now, just know you have the capacity and the capability to bear it. Don't go out there like being a menace to society. You know, be in control of yourself, because it's all for God. It's all, we're from Allah, we're for Allah, we're praying, and then we go back to Allah. So, and back to the idea of ease after hardship. Okay, this is not just a observation that we see time and time again, that we know to be true. It's not just an observation. It is indeed a promise from God that you will have ease after hardship, that there is ease bound to happen. Like literally, there is no hardship without ease after it. After that follows. There is again, I keep referring to this ayah, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. He repeated that twice. So you need to keep remembering that when you're being tested, no matter how big or small, everything has its good parts. You know what I mean? Everything has a positive side. It may take time. It may take a lot of time until you actually reap, or I don't know how it's like, until you reap the fruits of the tree that you planted. I don't know how to say that saying. Let me tell you that. Think about the prophets, actually, all of them, each and every single one of them. They are so highly regarded by God that he puts them through so much that we think that we can't go through. And probably, you know what, to be honest, we probably can't. Because we're not as, and this is not to put us down, but like, this is not, for them, it was a life or death situation. For them, being a Muslim meant being an outcast, being hated, being disrespected, even if you were the most respected person before. The biggest role models that we look up to have went through the worst pains. Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, Prophet Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Yusuf, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. He literally had to sacrifice his own child. The practical tips I'm going to give you for cultivating that trust and patience with God is, first of all, you need to be regular with your prayers and your du'as, and with the Quran, reading it, understanding it, translating it. Because the biggest difference between someone who can be swayed by shaitan versus someone who can't and who is firm is the prayers that they pray every single day. Every single day, every prayer protects you from bad influence, so from shaitan's influence. So pray regularly, or as much as you can. Let me tell you, let me be honest, I am not having time to pray on time regularly, but I am making up my prayers regularly. So everyone does what they can, and no one's out here like, no one should be out here hating on you just because you literally don't have time to do it on time. And as long as you're making it up and your intention is pure, then you are going to be very, very firm and affirmed every single day, multiple times a day, about the mercy of God, about that God's plan is greater, about having patience, about the hardships that Allah puts you through. So every single day, multiple times a day, you'll be reminded of that. The next tip is to engage in gratitude every single day, every little moment, every time you notice. You don't even have to write it down. Western mindfulness and stuff and ideologies say, like, mindfulness journal, gratefulness journal. Like, yes, I do agree. However, writing it down, like, honestly, is too much for me. Like, I don't know. It feels like too much work. So anytime I notice that I'm blessed, I'll count them, and I'll be grateful, and I'll say, like, Alhamdulillah, or in my own language, I'll say thank God. Okay? And not only does this, like, remind you of the presence of God in your life and how you could go any minute, but also how fortunate you are. And I made a video about this last week, about the blessings you have. Because if you tried to count all of God's blessings that he gave you, you would not be able to, because there are that many. And the third practical tip would be to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who urge you to get closer to God, who are close to God, and who remind you or inspire you to get closer to God, because you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around. So if you only hang around drug addicts, for example, you'll become one, most likely. And you can say, like, oh, like, I'm so firm in my persuasion, like, I don't get persuaded. Like, yes, you do. You're just lying to yourself. So start hanging around the people that you want to be more like, the people that you want to become. If you hang out with a lot of millionaires, you'll become one of them. And I can make a whole separate video about this, but, like, your inner circle has to be some of the greatest, most inspiring people in every aspect, or at least in one aspect. That way, because no one's perfect. No one's going to be inspiring to you in every single way, in every single category. So just find people who you click with that inspire you in one certain category. Another thing that would be helpful is making a portfolio of proof, no matter how big or small, how insignificant or very, very significant, how after every hardship you recall an ease. And this creates a document, basically, of all the times, of all the receipts. I don't want you to get, like, swayed by the waswasa of shaitan saying, like, what are you going to do without this person? What are you going to do without this job, this opportunity? Shaitan is going to make you feel that way. He's going to want to make you feel that way. But if you stop and stare for a second, if you stop and think about it, every single time you go through a hardship, I think the best way to go about it is to know فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. And that's the easiest thing to say, but one of the hardest things to do. And I urge you to really reflect on how you've been dealing with hardships and see if that's actually how you want to be dealing with them, or how Islam teaches you to deal with them. Because I certainly was not dealing with conflicts the way I wanted to be, and that's what I'm working towards. No one's perfect, and that's okay. That's literally okay. And I'm gonna end on this note. If you like this video, you can click the like button, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm thinking of making videos in different languages, so if you want to expose yourself to that, let me know. And yeah, I love you guys. Bye.